Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Daniel Tolson live stream. Today I have a very good friend with me, Adam Strong from the United Kingdom. And today we're going to talk to you about something that's very important because in 2020, it was a pretty terrible year. Business sucked, it was slow, sales were down, revenues were down, and we weren't able to pursue our dreams as we had planned. But coming into 2021, we're going to start strong and we've got to reinvent ourselves. And we've all got one of those crazy mates who decides to do something way out of left field. And so I thought I'd better bring him on to pick his brain to see what he's actually doing. Adam, welcome to the live stream.
Great to be here, Dan.
My pleasure, mate. Now, we're on two opposite sides of the world. Taiwan's been in lockdown, and I haven't left Taiwan for almost a year. And so it means I had to totally reinvent my business. And it meant shutting down businesses in Australia and saying no to clients in the United Kingdom. And for a long time, I felt alone. And I thought I was the only person in the world that COVID had personally attacked. But I don't believe I'm in the boat by myself. What's happening over in your market?
Well, at the moment, I'm over here in Cyprus in the Mediterranean. I made this kind of conscious decision that last year, because in Northern Europe, you know, the wintertime isn't particularly... It's just not particularly, should we say, fulfilling. And, it's just kind of all doom and gloom and it's extremely dark. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to move to the Mediterranean and get a bit more energy. And that's what I decided to do, really. But, don't know if you've ever been to Cyprus, Dan, but lovely island. Literally doesn't go below 20 degrees most of the time. However, for some particular reason, it's got really cold today. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about the weather. I'm here to talk about it. Interestingly enough, we were talking about last year. And it was a really interesting year. And I think there's a lot of things that we can learn. What we all have to learn is we all have to learn about the power of working together and collaboration, right? It's such an important word, but it's an underused word. People know the concept of it, but really people don't put it into practice enough. Do you understand? And I was having a really fascinating conversation with Marshall Goldsmith, who is one of two in the whole world in terms of leadership, thinkers leadership in the world. He's also the #1 executive coach. And we were doing some coaching for a podcast that was going to be released next week. And he was talking about the fact that people are just so macho these days. People love to win, right? But they hate to lose. And he used a really good analogy, and this is something that really resonated with me. So he only coaches billionaires, right, or CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there was one particular client that gave away $360 million to charity, right? It was his own charity, not his own charity, but it was a charity that he supports. And then next day, they had a coaching session with Marshall, and so Marshall is the type of person that turns around and says, if you want me to coach you, okay, you have to follow the rules. These are my rules. If I tell you to do something, don't argue, just say, thank you, Marshall, or thank you, Adam, or thank you, or whatever it is, right? He's extremely strict with that rule. And if you argue, or you say no, or you go against the grain, he charges you $20. So this particular CEO, right, who had already donated $360 million the day before, at the end of his session, he'd already accumulated $260, and he turned around and said, "Man, that's expensive. That's it. It's an expensive session, right?" And Marshall turned around and said, "Well, you just donated the same amount of money that we're donating to charity. Your $260 is going to go to your charity that you donated yesterday at $360 million. So what's the difference?" And he goes, "Good point." But the only difference is that none of us like to lose. Great concept. And really resonated with me, the whole kind of, I'm going to fine you $20 for every time you argue with me. I love that. That's great, right?
Expensive coaching.
Very expensive coaching. And this guy, he only, like I said, he only coaches billionaires and Fortune 500 companies. World Bank, the CEO of Glaxo, the CEO of Pfizer, CEO of Walmart. I mean, these people, they're minted, but they're extremely successful in the business world. But it was just such a great analogy, and it was a great conversation. So I just wanted to use that as great.
It's powerful. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us live tonight, what I'd like to ask you is, what was the greatest challenge that you had in 2020? And what was it? Because all of us had a different challenge, and we all have to solve that problem, because how we end one year is how we start the next year. And these problems do carry over. And sometimes when you're building a business, what you've got to do is you've got to figure out that one rock in the road, that one obstacle. And if you can articulate and define that obstacle, then you can use all of your mental powers, but all of your resources, all of your connections to help you overcome that obstacle. So what was it for you? So type it up in the chat box. For me, it was definitely, how do I deliver a business purely online? And so I was working with my coach, Brian Tracy, and it was back in 2017, Adam. I said to him, I said, this is my goal. And he said, I don't know how you're going to achieve that online or where you're from in Taiwan. And so Ninny and I were planning to move back to Australia in 2020. That was the plan. We were going to relocate there so we could have the physical business. But COVID come along, and then I just figured out how I can achieve my goal from Taiwan. Well, just lock down the borders and don't let me travel and force me to make it work. And so out of a miracle almost, we were able to purely do our business online. However, we had to break through the mold of lead generation, because all of a sudden it became even more competitive to generate leads because everybody else was in the same boat. So that was our rock in the road. It was lead generation. How do we do it? And we couldn't do it by ourselves. And you know what you said there before is collaboration is key. And I think there's some people out in our community today that are our lucky stars. And my wife has said to me that, Daniel, since you started your business, you've always had a lucky star. That one person's come into your life every year, but I don't believe there's just one lucky star, because you're going to bring in how many of the world's top thought leaders? What are you bringing together at the Game Changers?
So there's 24 in total, including myself. So yeah, 24. I mean, literally. I mean, if we go through we can go through the list here. We've got at the top there, we've got Adam Cox, and Adam runs a practice on Harley Street in London. He's got an amazing podcast called The Hypnotist, and The Hypnotist is now gets downloads, Daniel, of 30,000 a month. Insane. So you know, he's a great guy. So he's going to be on it. He's going to be doing a lot of stuff on subconscious thoughts and fears, anxieties, things like that. So that he's a great guy. Adam Halunan, he's actually from Australia. He's based on the Gold Coast, and he's a LinkedIn specialist. Really cool, really great guy to really hang around with. Ash Lawrence, really good friend of mine. He does a lot of stuff with footballers in particular. So he's a sports psychologist. He's got a business called, it's a hashtag called Flip Flop Psycho, which is really interesting actually. But he's actually built £2 million companies, and what he's done is he actually gave them away. He actually gave one up and actually had to give the second one away. And then what he's done is he's reinvented himself and done it again over and over and over again. So he's now on the third time of actually building a £1 million company, which is really interesting. And then you've got Dr. John D. Martini. I mean, he's world famous. You know, he's the leading behavioral human behavior specialist in the world. This guy, honestly, Dan, I don't know if you've ever had a conversation with him. He was on our podcast this week on the Game Changers Experience. Honestly, his knowledge just blows you away. He's written he's read 38,000 books. 38,000 books. I mean, that's astronomical. And he's read 299 of the ologies, you know, like physiology, psychology, things like that. And his knowledge is just absolutely insane. And he goes around helping business owners and entrepreneurs to create and find this purpose-led driven business as such. So, me and John have turned into very good friends because we sing off the same hymn note, but with me and John is we also see that opportunity. He buys into my vision, and that's what he loves about my energy as well. So this is actually the third time that me and John are going to be working together, which is going to be pretty amazing.
Let me just touch on that. And so John DeMartini is going to be coming along to the Game Changers Summit, and he helps purpose-driven entrepreneurs build their businesses, and he's read 38,000 books, and he's going to come and give his knowledge to your audience.
Absolutely. And
how do you get somebody like that to owe you a favor?
The thing is, you've got to have this compelling vision, Dan. That's the thing. You've got to have such a compelling vision that it's not, for me, it's not difficult for me to convince people. I'm not in the convincing game. People are magnetized towards my energy, number one, but number two, my vision. Okay. My vision is to help also to turn or transform business owner into more entrepreneurial, purpose-led driven companies into the digital revolution, because we live in the digital space right now. And for me, I suppose I wouldn't say I mastered it, but I would say, because we've been friends for probably just under a year now, you would have known that I launched the Game Changers Summit last year. In fact, I'm just going to switch over to my other mic, guys. 1 second. Here we go. I'm going to leave this. There we go. That's much better, actually. So one of the big things, actually, as you mentioned, with regards to lead generation. So, lead generation was a real problem because I actually did a lot of stuff on one-to-one basis, right, Dan? And so one of the things I really enjoyed missing right now is this human. So I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute. What's everyone saying? Well, you need more connection, you need more attention and things like that, right? So I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute. Rather than getting on other people's show, okay, why don't I create a compelling vision, number one? Why don't I build something and create something which is so astronomically going to help people on so many levels, right? That people are just drawn to the energy, and people are drawn to my energy because I'm an A player, Dan, right? I don't do anything else, right? I do everything with excellence, and I'm an A player. Okay. I only attract A players. If you're less than an A player, I'm not interested. Simple as that, right? And that was the reason why we created the summit. Last time we had 2,000 people impacted around the world, all over the world. We had Jack Canfield, we had Sharon Lecter, we had 30 game changers. This time it's different. We need some different tools. We need some different resources. We need we need proper connection. And I'm not saying proper connection. I mean, we need to build trust between each other so that we can collaborate on a more bigger scale, right? So, we've got Bob Berg. Now, Bob has written a book called The Go-Giver. It's sold over just under 1 million copies now, translated into 29 different languages. So, Bob Berg, great guy to know. We've obviously got yourself, Dan. There's you next to Bob. And then we've got Eric Swanson. We've got Jen Cohen's a great person to hang out with as well. Gary Ridge, and I think I mentioned Gary Ridge to you, Dan, in a previous conversation. Gary Ridge is the CEO of a company called WD-40, which is the blue and yellow lubricants company. Like if you have a rusty bike chain and stuff, that's what his company does.
It's almost the same color as the Game Changers.
Exactly, right? Isn't that right? Really interesting? But honestly, Gary, I'll tell you what, mate, honestly, Gary's knowledge in terms of building tribes, building culture and communities and building teams, honestly, will blow you away. And this is a guy that runs a Fortune 500 company. He is going to be there. It's written
Incredible.
Best-selling book as well, which is going to be incredible. We've got James Dentley, Jen Cohen. I was going to say, Kelly, Kim, Les is a really interesting character as well. Les is from Canada, Toronto, Canada. He's just a really interesting, right-brained, fun guy to hang out with. Marianne talks about systems. So she uses, she has created a concept which helps you to systemize your business more, to make it more efficient and free flow. We've got, as I mentioned, Marshall already in our previous conversations. Marshall has actually written 42 books. 12 of them are New York Times best-selling books. He sold 2.5 million copies of his book. He's got a new one coming out very, very soon as well, which is just absolutely insane, Dan. And then we've got Natasha Grano. Natasha has got 1.3 million on her Instagram feed. She's going to be showing you guys about how you can monetize and turn your Instagram profile into an asset, which is going to be really cool. Perry Sean, who's going to be talking about, the whole kind of concept of selling without selling type of thing, but from more of a science, neurological basis. So it's really, she was actually a student of Dr. John Demartini. And they now work together in collaboration with each other, which is absolutely fascinating. And then we've got Rory Atkinson from South Africa, who does a lot of stuff on digital marketing. Sammy's going to be talking about personal branding. And Sammy gave up her business, which was a 7-figure business as well, in order to follow her passion. And we've got Skip Archimedes, who broke his back. He broke his back, Dan, and was told that he will never walk again. 18 months later, became the British acrobatic champion.
Wow.
That's nuts, isn't it? So he teaches the same system to his clients, right? About how you can effectively transform your life as well. He seeks teachers, masters, gurus from around the world to heal himself in those 18 months. It was nuts. And then you got Tracy Smolinski, and she's going to be teaching a lot about relationships and networking. And obviously, our good friend Vince Tan, of course, back over in Malaysia, who's going to be talking a little bit about how to build your business through sales funnels and things like that. So it's going to be a wicked lineup, man.
It's an all-star lineup. So you're bringing in all these minds, these incredible people together. What's the purpose of it? What's the ultimate result that you want for your audience to walk away with at the end of the summit? What do you want for them?
I want them to be able to have a plan for 21, because one thing that I noticed in 2020 is that, and we talked about this offline before, right, is that most entrepreneurs and business owners, they're still getting used to the digital space. It's a bit like learning a new language. When you went to Taiwan and you try to speak Cantonese, I can't remember the national language there, but it's difficult, right? It's hard to pick it up. But then eventually, as you learn to practice over and over and over again, you get better at it and you start to remember words.
7 years later, I still sound like a two-year-old.
So
I know
true.
it's hard. It's really hard.
It is hard. And listen, and here's the thing, and I know what you're thinking. And some of you may be thinking, well, isn't it one of those summits where it's just going to turn into one of those sales platforms? Number one, if you know me, where most of you guys probably don't know me, I don't do sales platforms. I don't do. It's just not me. Me and Dan and a few and everyone that is on the Game Changer Summit, they come from a place of true authenticity. We love to help people, we love to give people without expectation. Okay. Because I'm just not those types of people. So that's the first thing. And secondly, is that, from my perspective, in my values, for me, is that, there are people that like to talk the talk, right, Dan? But for me, I like to walk the walk.
It's a big difference, isn't there?
Absolutely,
one of the things I learned in NLP was don't calibrate on people's words, calibrate on their behaviour. And in Australia, there's a couple of old sayings. One is put your money where your mouth is, which
same in Britain.
Really like, and talk is cheap. And you've got the results. You've got the results in your life, and you've got the results in your client's life. And for our guests who want to come along and learn from the world's best. It is pure content. There's nothing for sale. You're not going to be guilted. I remember years ago, a client rang me up and they said, Daniel, I just went down to this event in Melbourne. And I said, what happened? They said, I'm really disturbed. And they asked everybody to stand up at the end of the sales presentation. And they said, now, we want everybody to remain standing if you believe in yourself. So everybody stood up. And they said, then they started to do the sales pitch. And then they said, if you're ready to give up on your dream now, we'd like you to sit down and let the world know that you've given up on yourself. And my friend was in there and he said, I can't believe this is happening. He goes, there's 750 people in this room and they're using guilt to sell us. You know, I don't believe that's a great way to do it. And if it's anything, it's a short-term strategy. And it might get you the first sale, but your history says that your clients stick with you for a long time and they keep coming back. In my opinion in business is if people keep coming back, the second and the third sale is the most important. But there's going to be no selling from there. It's just pure content.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If I was in business and I was starting up in business and I was a little bit unsure because, you know, the world's in a bit of a shit place. It's in a bit of a rut. If I've got an idea and I want to come to the Game Changers, what's some of the things that I could take away if I was just starting my business?
It's a great question. Well, I think and it's not just for startups, it's for existing business owners, it's for top billionaire investors, or it appeals to everyone and everything. I think the first thing that you really need to master, and you'll probably agree with me on this one, is to how to create this bulletproof mindset, because that is really a foundation, right? I could give you for example, my reputation is that I like to grow and scale companies. And so I have a blueprint which essentially helps do that. But I could say to you, Dan, I've got this blueprint. It's going to help you grow and scale your business to 7 figures and beyond. But I know, Dan, that you cannot use this strategy. And the reason because you're not ready. You're not ready here. You understand? When you're ready here, then you can apply those principles and execute, because then you're ready. Then you're ready to move forwards. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and then that's where the big kind of like epiphanies are going to be like, boosh. That's where the results, that's where you're going to really get the results. It's same for if I was a running coach. And I used to be a running coach, actually, a sports performance coach. And he came to me and said, hey, can you train me to do a marathon? I'd be like, sure, I'll give you a plan. Here's a training plan. What do you think the likely chances are that if I gave you a training plan that you'd probably stick to it maybe for a few weeks, but do you think that you're likely to stick to it long term?
About 24 hours, because I'd be bloody sore.
Exactly. You'd be sore. You'd be thinking to yourself, can I do this? You'd be making judgments. You'd be comparing yourself to other people. You'd be comparing yourself to people in the park that are running faster than you. And then and then it all goes to shit, essentially, right? And it's exactly the same with a business, right? If you don't create that bulletproof mindset first, it's like a house. If you don't have the foundations, it's going to fall down. It's as simple as that. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is you've then got to create this vision, right? And a vision and a mission, and there's two real important factors to make up. A vision is your long-term. What is your long-term strategy? What do you see? If you was to have a crystal ball and you see yourself 10, 20, 50, even 50 years down the line, what is it? What is the legacy that you want to lead? And that's where you need to start. And it's difficult. Listen, I'm not going to say it's easy. It is difficult, right? But you've got to create that legacy, because if you want to be better, you want to show up more to people, you want to help more people, then you have to create something that is bigger than you. All right. So all of these entrepreneurs that want to build business, coaches, consultants, and speakers and stuff, and they want to do this and they want to do that. Great. That's just the icing on the cake. But what is your unique strength? What is it that you are made on this earth to be and represent? What did God put you on this earth to represent? Because I can tell you now, for most of you right now, you need to have a Q&A session with yourself in the mirror and say, why? Why me? Why am I doing this? Why do I wake up? And it's so important because so many people are asking the question, Dan, right now is, how do I do this, Adam? How? Wrong question. It's always about why. Why am I doing it? Why should people care? Why am I giving this to the world? And it's all about the why first. Go back to Simon Sinek's YouTube, which is great, which is a great analogy, and he puts it down to a T. You need to start building that vision first, then create a unique message which resonates with people. Because you know what, guys? There is so much noise in the digital space. It's ridiculous. It's a bit like trying to cut through the BS which is out there, right? Because there's a lot of things going in the digital space right now. And then once you've created your unique marketing message, which is going to resonate with a particular target audience that helps solve a problem, then you've got to then learn how to productize, monetize, and scale. Simple.
If I was on my journey and I've built my business and I've gone through that startup phase, but now I've got to grow again. If I come along to the Game Changers Summit, am I going to learn strategies to grow again? Am I going to learn reasons why I can grow again? Am I going to get new insights on how to grow again? Is that going to be possible at the Game Changers Summit?
100%. I mean, listen, here's the thing, Dan, right? Even if you was to come away with maybe 5 golden nuggets out of 3 days, would you say that it was worth it?
If I get one good idea, I know that can make me rich. So if I got an extra 4, I'd be bloody over the moon.
There you go. Exactly. And that's the thing, right? So some of the concepts and methodologies and analogies that we're going to teach you, some of it is not new. It is something that you already know. Most people know how to do something, but the hard thing is putting it into practice. It's application, implementation. That's the difficulty part of things. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're actually going to show you how to implement some of this stuff. So we're going to be doing some masterminding. We're going to be doing some networking. We're going to just have fun. And that's the whole point of it, is to have fun. You can build connections. You can build and here's the thing, you hang around with who you become, with the 5 most common people you hang around with. So if you come and spend 3 days with people like me and Dan, I can guarantee you that at the end of that, you'll probably turn around and say, do you know what? That was worth my 3 days. Even if you got one good idea, or 2 or 3, or whatever it is, whatever your expectation, even if you got one, and now that one idea could turn into a 7, 8, or 9-figure business. Anything is possible. And guess what? You can meet your best business partner. You can meet potential clients, or whatever it might be. It's such a great opportunity. It's unbelievable. And the beauty about it, Dan, as you know, it's free. Why am I convincing you people? Why have you not signed up already, you mad people?
Go and do it now. You know, it's so true. I went to a mastermind years ago, and I flew down to Melbourne, and I took my business card, and I wrote on the back of my business card, because at that stage I couldn't afford it. This is free, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to travel. You don't have to worry about flying.
Right.
And I went down to Melbourne. I booked the accommodation. I paid for the event, and I wrote on the back of my business card, I've got to get a 10 times return on this investment. And that was my rule. So I set my intention. I flew down there. The trainer was absolutely terrible. And so I ended up taking over the training on the 3rd and final day, because I knew more than him. So I saved his ass. But there was somebody in the room who looked across at me and went, wow, he seems really nice. And so that was back in 2016. He has been a client with me for 4 years, a paying client for 4 years. So I haven't made 10 times back. I've made about 100 times back. So that was one. I went to another mastermind in Hawaii, flew over, and I got some great ideas, but I met one person. That one person said, Daniel, what you do is definitely not for me, but I want to introduce you to one guy who it is for. He introduced me to another person, and I made 500 new sales off the back of one introduction.
There you go.
And then I went and did a mastermind with Brian Tracy, and I couldn't afford it. And it was $10,000 for a 3-day training. It cost me another $10,000 in lost income and flights and accommodation. Right. And I walked in there, And I'd already made that decision. I've got to get a 10 times return on this investment. And I walked out on the third day, my phone rang, a prospect said, I have this problem. Can you help me solve it? And I said, absolutely. They said, what's the investment? And I said, $25,000. And they bought there and then. And it was because exactly what I learned at that training. I took that idea, and the thing with the ideas that you teach, Adam, they don't have an expiry date on them. It's not just you use it once and it expires like a loaf of bread or milk. You keep using it. So I took these ideas. In the first 100 days, I'd increased my sales by $100,000. Plus I had the other $25,000 sale. And then I've seen about another 5,000 people into my business off the back of one idea. The idea cost me $20,000 and I got to work with one person, but you're going to have 20 of the world's top thought leaders here.
Yeah.
And if you just took one nugget of gold from all of them, it would change your life forever. Because
it really would.
One new idea at the right time is enough to make you rich.
Absolutely.
And so make sure you sign up for it, ladies and gentlemen. The link's in there. It's thegamechangersummit.com/sign-up-form. It's free. Be there. I'll be there for 2 hours training you on the latest emotional intelligence. We're going to learn from Adam. We're going to learn from a whole bunch of other people. And can you just run through the list again, Adam, of all these wonderful guests?
Sure, absolutely. Let's start from the top. So like I mentioned, we've got Adam Cox, who is one of the leading experts in dealing with anxiety, fears, and phobias. He's also, like I said, he's got an amazing podcast called The Hypnotist, which has 30,000 downloads a month. Completely insane. It's crazy. And he actually only launched that, Dan, less than 6 months ago, that podcast.
Wow.
6 months. He's got 2 other podcasts, of course, but this one was his 3rd one, I believe. And then Adam, who's an Aussie based on the Gold Coast, is going to be teaching you how to monetize your LinkedIn profile, what people are looking for, how to make more sales, how to connect with more people, build more relationships. So that's going to be wicked. Obviously, myself, I'm going to be actually teaching a unique 5-step system, which is going to help you grow and scale any business. And I'm going to be teaching you the 5 systems that are the 5-point systems, which is part of a program that we actually launched called the Game Changers Accelerator, which I'm really super excited about. Then we've got Ash Lawrence, one of the top UK sports performance psychologists, and also does a lot of stuff with footballers and athletes and a lot of entrepreneurs as well. So, he is such a down-to-earth chap. He's actually built and given up 2 of his businesses to start again. Bob Berg, who's a co-author of The Go Giver. And Bob is such a wonderful gentleman. Is from the United States. Sold nearly just under 1 million copies of his book, The Go Giver, and there's a what do you call it? There's a series of different stuff in the Go Givers that you can take a look at. Obviously, we've got the amazing Dan Tolson.
You do.
We do. So Dan's going to be talking a lot about emotional intelligence, how you can apply the principle of emotional intelligence to improve things like empathy, trust, understanding, authenticity. So he's going to teach you a completely some new concepts around that. Dr. John D. Martini.
Before we go into Dr. John D. Martini, we better give Anthony Giatani a round of applause because he just signed up. And if anybody else signs up, if anybody else signs up, we're going to give you a round of applause as well. So make sure you do it now. Now, Dr. John D. Martini, he's a giant in this space, and you've got him coming along.
He is a big giant, and interestingly, and like I said, he is the leading human behavior specialist in the world. Read 38,000 books. Has actually, he's written numerous books as well. He's a researcher, an educator, and he was also featured on the film, the documentary, The Secret as well, which you may or may not have remembered a number of years ago. So that was Dr. John D. Martini, and he's also featured on our podcast, The Game Changers Experience. Honestly, Dan, the knowledge that you get from that guy is just insane. Just such an intelligent human being. He's such a great guy as well. Eric Swanson, we call him Mr. Awesome. And I brought Eric in purely because not only is he awesome, but he's just such a great guy in terms of energy and enthusiasm, so positive. Gary Ridge, the CEO of a company called WD-40. It's a Fortune 500 company based in San Diego, California. He's also an Aussie, believe it or not.
Wow.
So I got a couple of Aussies in this one.
Cheaper by the dozen, the Aussies.
You know that. We've got Haroon Danas, who's based in Dubai in the Middle East. He's actually built a company called Skin HQ. During the pandemic, he had some physical shops, and has gone into it, which is all around skin and aesthetics and stuff like that. He's actually going to be sharing about his vision for Skin HQ, but how he actually created that vision. He has actually gone from six-figure business into almost an eight-figure business just in nearly a year.
Wow.
During the pandemic, which is insane. I had said I had to get him on, which is crazy. And then James Dentley. James has got about 50 years experience in the world of business. He teaches a lot of people how to speak from stage. Such a great guy to rub shoulders with, James Dentley. Such a nice guy. In fact, he's a millionaire by trade in the network marketing industry. So he does a lot of stuff with that. Jen Cohen. Jen is a health and fitness, I suppose, cooler guru, influencer. She sold her fitness app to Weight Watchers. She's great. She's going to be talking a lot about fulfilling your potential. She's got a great TED Talk, actually. It's probably one of the top TED Talks ever viewed, which is amazing. Kelly Teasdale. So she's going to be teaching a lot about how to solve problems, how to identify problems, so you can turn your business into a marketing machine to increase lead generation and stuff. Kim Newman's going to be talking about collaboration. She actually works with a lot of companies, particularly in construction, property, and housing. She teaches a methodology she teaches this methodology about how leaders can use the power of collaboration to grow the business, which is, again, a really fascinating subject. Les Evans is going to be talking about neuromarketing, which is a new concept of marketing, but neuromarketing is science-based marketing. It's completely unique to the market, and it's really on ball with 2021. Marianne Page is going to be talking a lot about systems, how you can become more efficient, how you can become more productive, how you can streamline processes. Marshall Goldsmith, as I mentioned, he's the member of the 50 Thinkers Hall of Fame. He's the world's #1 executive coach, according to Forbes magazine. He's the top 10 business thinker for 8 years in a row and has written over 42 different books. 12 of them are New York Times bestselling books with 2.5 million copies in 30 languages, which is insane. Natasha Grano, 1.3 million influencers on Instagram, is going to teach you how to monetize your Instagram profiles into an asset so you can sell more and be more. Perry Shawn, who is Canadian based, she's going to be talking a lot about she's going to be teaching a science-based approach to increasing sales and improving sales without being too pushy, because I just hate that kind of stuff. I just don't like that. It just makes me cringy. Then Rory Atkinson's based in Cape Town, South Africa, to be teaching more about digital marketing and the concept of community-based marketing, or building your community online, which is a really great. You've probably heard of that before. Sammy Blindell's going to be talking a lot about personal branding, how to build brand versus branding. Skip Archimedes, which we already talked about, is a health and vitality coach. He's going to be teaching the concepts of a methodology that helped him go from someone who broke his back as a gymnast to English sports acrobatic champion in less than 18 months. So we're talking about the healing process and some of the concepts that helped him. And then Tracy Smolinski is going to be talking a lot about how to build meaningful relationships. And Vince Tan's going to be talking a lot about sales funnels, how to productize, monetize your intellectual property in the digital space. So that is a bit of a run through about, it's just insane who we've got. I didn't think that I was going to be able to pull it off, if I'm honest with you. I mean, last time we had a great lineup. I'm just blown away by who we have. It's amazing.
Well, I'm doing the numbers there, and these people don't charge thousands of dollars now. They charge tens of thousands of dollars an hour for their advice, and we're all going to get it for free. And I think that's just one of the greatest gifts. You know, I've personally hired some top consultants, and they charge $5,000 for 2 hours of their time, and you can't get them any cheaper than $5,000. And that's still quite inexpensive in comparison to some of these people who charge tens of thousands. And so I'll be there. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're still watching now, I want you to register now, and also do me a favor, tag in one of your friends. Tag a friend who should be coming, and also share this, because it could change somebody's life. It's totally free. And like you said before, if you spend time with 5 idiots, you become the 6th. But if you spend time with 5 millionaires, you become the 6th. And it's really important. Let me ask you this question, Adam. And it's also a question for everybody else. How does a fish know what water is?
Good question. It's a belief system.
Most people say, well, it lives in the water. Well, it lives in the water, but it doesn't know what water is. When you take the fish out of the water and you put it on the sand, does it know what water is?
Yeah, maybe.
At that stage, it says, no, this is not water, and it still doesn't know what water is. But when you take it and you put it back in the pond, it goes, oh, that's what water is. And so what the analogy shows us is that sometimes we are in the water of our business, and all we're doing is swimming around in the same water every day, and we forget what business we're in. But when we pull ourselves out of our business and we start to expose ourselves to some of these world's top thinkers, all of a sudden we have to reconsider everything that we're doing in our business. And you get all of these new ideas when you're outside of your business, and you got to get out of that comfort zone. And then what happens is the moment that you get back into your business, you see your business for the reality that it is. You see the blind spots, you see the potential strengths, but now you're armed with new information, and you go back and you go, oh, that's what the water of my business looks like. And one of my successful clients, he said to me, Daniel, he said, I'm successful, but he goes, you know what? I'm the biggest fish in the pond, and I can't learn anymore. He said, I've got to get myself out of this pond into a big one so I'm a small fish again. And his business, when he told me that, was doing around about 40 million a year. A couple of years later, he was at 90 million. Today he's at 120 million. And he said, Daniel, I thought I knew it all. He goes, but once I hopped in a bigger pond, I started to learn. And he said, you never want to be the biggest fish in the pond.
Nope.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, tag a friend, share the post, register. And like Arthur says, spend time with 5 idiots and you'll become the 6th.
It's so true, you know. It's so true. And I think, and the other question I have to ask yourself is, what else are you doing? Most people are in lockdown, for God's sakes. I mean, you know, most of us are spending most of our lives on our iPads or on our computers. Where else better to spend time with millionaires and billionaires and people that can actually teach you something, right? And even if you were to take, like as Dan said, one golden nugget away from this, it may change your life and your thought patterns. It may disrupt a few things. What have you got to lose? You know, that's the thing, is that these types of events, they don't come across. Like the last one I ran, which was in May of last year. We're in January. I don't even know if I'm going to run another one again. I don't know. But these types of events, they don't come along very, very often. I can just tell you that for a fact. So if you're waiting for the right time, you're waiting for and you're making excuses, and you're trying to think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, the time's not right. Oh, I'm busy. I'm this, I'm that. They're excuses. They're excuses. And I call you bullshit. I really do call you bullshit. If you really want your life to change, if you want more success and happiness, if you want to help more people, then guess what? You've done your way. You've done it your way for the years that you've been doing it for. Even if you've been in business for just a month, that's enough time. Now it's time to do it something different. So sign up to the summit. You've got nothing to lose.
And Jenny, thank you for tagging. Lalitha, we appreciate it. The lineup here, and I just want to go through this one more time before I let you go because I'm really blown away. The first thing that really pisses me off in today's world is so many people are learning from so many unsuccessful people. I see these masterclasses every week of people who have no fucking credibility and they've never achieved anything in their career, their personal life, their family, in anywhere, and they're teaching other people how to become as unsuccessful as them. And if you have a look at this list again, there is not one person on this list who does not have worldly success. All these people are the top players in their field. They are the A players. These people have the results in their own lives. And when you hang around successful people like this, what we know from neuroscience is the emotion is contagious. Why aren't you successful? I'm going to talk to you about that at the Games Change Summit. It's because you're not confident enough. And so when you absorb the confidence from these people, it gives you that courage to try something new. Yeah. And so I've never heard somebody say in business, I've got too much confidence. I've never heard it. Somebody said, hey, Jim, I'm making so much money, I must be too confident. No, it's always a lack of confidence.
Do you know what? It's interesting you say that, actually, Dan. Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, I don't think it's the word confidence. They don't say, I've got too much confidence. What it is that you'll get some macho douchebag that turns around and says, I am this and I am that. And they go throw around their ego like it, goes out of fashion. And again, we were talking about the ego with Dr. John DeMartini on the podcast this week. Fascinating, to say the least. And again, it's your insecurities. It is down to insecurity. That's where ego comes from, and the thing is that, number one, you can never learn too much. That's absolute. That's a myth. Take that out of and push that to one side.
I'm overqualified. Bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Bullshit. Exactly. I haven't got time. Guess what? Bullshit. You can find time if it's important to you. Everything that all the excuses that you're coming up with right now in your head, thinking, hey, this summit thing, yeah, it looks kind of good. But I don't really want to wait. I don't want to stay up till midnight. I don't want to stay up till 1 o'clock and listen to Marshall Goldsmith. Oh, I don't want to do it. No. My sleep's more important. No. Listen, guys, I don't need to convince you. The lineup speaks for itself. End of.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done it, register right now. I'll be there for the 3 days because these people I'd love to hire personally, but they're just out of my price bracket. And I'm not afraid to say that. But I'd be a bloody absolute idiot if I didn't show up to learn from them for free. And remember, one idea will change your life.
It's really, really interesting here, Dan. If we was to get everyone in the room and did a live event, as in a live conference, right, it would cost £10 million to get these people in one room. £10 million. So if you can afford 10 million quid, then no worries. It's all good. Don't come to the summit. Hire them on a daily, hire them. But I can guarantee you that, no, it's not going to happen. Marshall Goldsmith only trains billionaires and millionaires. I know what his fees are. I know what his fees are. And guess what? They're eye-watering.
Lalitha, thank you for joining us today. Make sure you register for this. This will be a big contributor to your success. And it is an event where these people are going to give you real-world ideas. These people will give you the best of the best. And what I like to say is when we spend time with people like this, it's called decades in days. And so what they'll do is they'll take decades of information, they'll compress it down into days, and even in their session, they're going to give you the best ideas inside of 90 minutes. And so what that means is your learning curve accelerates. You pass through that learning curve and you can jump the queue. You can get straight to the front of the line. And I'll tell you what, I hate lining up. I hate lining up. Me, my daughter and my wife, I say to my wife, I'm going to be bloody successful just so I don't have to bloody line up. And so when we fly business class, we go straight to the front of the queue. And the days where you can't get business class and you've got to fly economy, you feel the burn. And so just get these ideas and get to the front of the queue. It'll change your life. It really will.
Good. Well, anyway, just want to say thanks very much for inviting me on today, Dan.
Absolutely. Well, I'm envious of where you are in the world right now. It's been cold here in Taiwan. But it doesn't really make a difference. We're stuck inside. But we can always dream.
Absolutely.
But we look forward to seeing you face to face. So, ladies and gentlemen, the link is in. The link to register is in the feed. Make sure you do it now. even tag in your friends and get them to register. If you've got children and they're in the education system, register them to this event because it'll give them real world ideas. Because in a couple of years from now, your children are going to leave school. They're going to have all the certificates from university, and the potential employer is going to ask them one question. What experience have you got?
Yep.
And the tongue's going to drop. And so what you want is you want them to get these real world ideas. What do you do with that knowledge? How do you apply it in the real world? And if they just take one good idea from this, then it could secure them the job of their dream. And so start to educate your children early, especially if you don't want them following the old rat race. Get them out there.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you putting all these people in one room for me. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. 100%, man. Always a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. Adam Strong, thank you so much.
Take care.